Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 227 of the podcast. And in this episode of the podcast, I am talking about Yankees outfielder Aaron Judge and St. Louis Cardinals first base / DH Albert Pujols hitting milestone home runs this season. For the last decade or so in the sport of baseball, there have not been many home run milestones that people were highly anticipating, and a large part of that has to do with the taint of the steroid era, and another part of it has to do with the fact that baseball has become a home run or nothing type of sport. So coming into this season, it would have been impossible to imagine a player hitting a milestone home run that people cared about. And in fact, we got two of them from two very prominent players, Aaron Judge and Albert Pujols. Let's start with Aaron Judge, who had one of the best offensive seasons in recent memory. It's been a long time since a player hit 60 home runs in a season, 2001 to be exact. Judge ended with 62 home runs, and the significance of that, it's the most ever hit in the American League, and more importantly, the most ever hit by a New York Yankee. Think of the extraordinary power hitters that have played for the Yankees. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Reggie Jackson, Alex Rodriguez, the list goes on and on. The record previously held by Roger Maris was 61 in 1961. Everyone has heard the mythos around that season where Maris and Mantle were in a home run chase for the ages. Mantle himself ended the season with 54 and might have broken the record if not for injuries. I personally think Judge hitting 62 is a big deal because you don't see that kind of power anymore, and because of who he plays for, the New York Yankees. That's the significance of it. He's not the legitimate home run king or any of that nonsense. He's had an unbelievable MVP season and has now hit the most home runs in a season by a New York Yankee. That's an organization that has won 27 World Series. They are the winningest team in the history of professional sports. It's a big deal. And like most have already stated, this is probably the best season ever for a player in his walk year. While Aaron Judge hit a season milestone home run, Albert Pujols reached a career one, joining the 700 home run club. The only other free players on that list is Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, and Barry Bonds. The magic in that milestone is it happened during Pujols' final season. The future Hall of Famer is set to retire after the postseason, along with Cardinals longtime catcher Yadier Molina and possibly the team's longtime ace Adam Wainwright. In the early parts of this season, it seemed unlikely Pujols would get to 700, but since the end of June, he's had a power surge, hitting 20 home runs. What I loved about Pujols hitting 700 is the fact he did it with the St. Louis Cardinals. No one would have cared if he did it as a member of the LA Angels. Like Judge hitting 62, it's all about what team Pujols hit 700 with. It's been a long time since this guy was relevant. He's a 3-time MVP and 11-time All-Star, and it felt like he was never going to get a great ending to his career. Instead, here we are all rooting and watching him just be dominant for a moment, as good as he used to be with the team he had the majority of his success with. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be great if this ends with him winning a third World Series championship ring. While watching Pujols get hot during the second half and we all caring about it, it made me think that I wish Albert Pujols never left the St. Louis Cardinals, because he means so much more to St. Louis than he does to any other big baseball market. Like, it was never going to work with him and the LA Angels because he did absolutely nothing for them. They didn't have an emotional attachment to him as a player. I understand these players wanting to go and get the biggest contracts possible, but sometimes you just mean so much more to an organization and a fan base than you'll ever mean to anyone else. I'm sure Albert Pujols somewhat regrets leaving the St. Louis Cardinals. He should have been a member of the Cardinals this whole time. And in the case of Aaron Judge, I'm wondering if he feels the same way about being a member of the New York Yankees, or he's just going to go into this offseason and leave them. Like, how are we going to feel if Aaron Judge is a member of the San Francisco Giants next offseason, for example? How are we going to feel about Aaron Judge next year? What if Aaron Judge hits 60 home runs for another team? Will anyone care as much as they did this year? Probably not. I think the significance of it is the fact he did it as a member of the New York Yankees. Like, that fan base cares about Aaron Judge. It's the place that made him a superstar player. I think the place where you became a superstar is usually the place where you should end your career in baseball. It's why I'm rooting for the Red Sox to bring back Xander Bogaerts. A lot of Red Sox fans want them to bring in Aaron Judge. I just don't understand that. I don't have any emotional feeling towards Aaron Judge. I don't think he'll be as good as a member of the Red Sox as he was as a member of the New York Yankees. I just don't buy into that. Yes, we love to sign the best players and get them on our team, but for the next 10 years, I think it would be better for Aaron Judge to remain a member of the New York Yankees than to join another team. And I think Albert Pujols is a great example as to why Judge should consider staying a member of the New York Yankees. You should stay with the team that made you a star. If they give you a fair contract offer, which I'm sure the Yankees are going to do this offseason, I think Aaron Judge is going to remain a member of the New York Yankees. And I think it's best for both sides that he does so. The Yankees need Aaron Judge, and I think Aaron Judge needs the Yankees the same way that Albert Pujols needed the St. Louis Cardinals. The LA Angels did not need Albert Pujols. They didn't care about him as a player. They just wanted him to be the same guy he was in St. Louis, and when he wasn't, they had no rooting interest towards him. Nobody made a big deal when the Angels released Albert Pujols because there was no emotional attachment to his career. It doesn't matter if you're a Hall of Famer, because in the eyes of Angels fans, you're not a Hall of Famer. You're a Hall of Famer in St. Louis. You weren't the same Albert Pujols. Baseball is filled with these examples of legends leaving other teams and not being the same guy. It's better for a guy like Albert Pujols to age with the team like the St. Louis Cardinals. It's going to be better for Aaron Judge to age as a member of the New York Yankees. It's going to be better for Xander Bogaerts to age as a member of the Boston Red Sox. Baseball is the one sport where it makes sense to end your career playing for one team. I think it's the one sport where it does matter if you switch teams. You're not going to be as good. The fan base, it's not as simple as basketball where if you get LeBron James, you're going to be the same on no matter what team you're on. I think baseball, it matters where you are playing. And this season, it mattered that Aaron Judge was a Yankee, and it mattered that Albert Pujols was a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think Albert Pujols would have reached 700 home runs as a member of the LA Angels. He was able to do so because he was back in a baseball market that cared about him as a player, and he was motivated by that. In the case of Aaron Judge, I think he's going to have success no matter where he goes. Like, he's a power hitter. He's going to be a power hitter no matter where he goes. But I think if he stays with the New York Yankees, there's a chance he has a Hall of Fame career. I don't think that's possible with any other team because I don't think he'll age as well with any other team. I think moving and signing these 10-year deals to organizations you have no relationship with is a dangerous gamble, especially in the sport of baseball. I think it matters where you play. I think it's the one sport where it still matters what team you play for. I'm not even taking into account that it's easier to hit a home run in Yankee Stadium than any other stadium. I'm just talking about the fan base. New York makes you motivated. That's a different kind of fan base that really cares. Would Aaron Judge put up these kind of numbers in Seattle? I don't know. I just think that it's best for him to remain a member of the New York Yankees. Again, if they give him a fair contract offer. Would I be excited if the Boston Red Sox signed Aaron Judge? Yes, but I don't think the deal would work the whole way through. I think he would have some good seasons, but I don't think it would end well. I think the only place where Aaron Judge's career is going to end well is with the New York Yankees. A great example of this is someone like David Ortiz. I grew up watching David Ortiz. He had the perfect ending to his career because he ended with the Red Sox. That fan base cared about him. He had some down seasons. He wasn't always great the whole time, but it ended perfectly because he still played in that market. He didn't change teams. It would have been very different if David Ortiz left the Red Sox and ended his career somewhere else. Aaron Judge is going to be 30 years old. He's not super young, so if he's going to get a 10-year deal from somewhere, the only place that makes sense in my eyes is from the New York Yankees. Again, how are you going to feel if you wake up this offseason and Aaron Judge signs a 10-year deal with the San Francisco Giants? I wouldn't feel all that great about it. I think he would play great for the Giants for 4 to 5 years. But at the end of that deal, that could look ugly. If he signed a 10-year deal with the Yankees, I would say, wow, that's really long, but it makes sense. The Yankees need to keep this guy, and this guy needs to stay a Yankee. Getting back to Pujols for a minute, I don't think he would have gone through the same struggles if he played for the St. Louis Cardinals, because the Cardinals are just a way better run organization than the LA Angels. The Angels were just signing players and not building a great team around Pujols. Pujols with the Cardinals, the Cardinals always have great prospects. They always go out and get talent around the players. They are a great team. I think the worst thing to be in baseball is to be the one high-priced player on a team. I think that's what happened with Albert Pujols. Yes, you had Mike Trout. Yes, you had Josh Hamilton. But they didn't have a good team. With the St. Louis Cardinals, you knew you were going to have a chance to make the postseason each and every year. And Pujols would have remained relevant as a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think he would have reached 700 home runs a lot sooner if he had stayed with the Cardinals. And even if he had struggled, it's better to struggle with a team that cares about you and a fan base that still admires you. Look at Miguel Cabrera. He's still with the Detroit Tigers. He's not even half the player he used to be, but he has a relationship with that organization and that fan base. They still really like him. He won a Triple Crown there. He has a relationship with them. It's better to age there than if Miguel Cabrera had gone somewhere else and struggled mightily. It's best that Miguel Cabrera is going to end his career a member of the Detroit Tigers. In baseball, we are used to players competing with each other in a home run chase, like in 1961 with Maris and Mantle or in 1998 with McGwire and Sosa. What was great about Aaron Judge and Albert Pujols this summer is there was none of that. You didn't have to pick one or the other. One was having a great season and chasing a legend, while the other was trying to end his career with a bang. Like there was no Aaron Judge versus Albert Pujols. I think that was the fun of it. It was a home run chase like we had never seen before. We could enjoy both of them. We didn't have to pick sides. Like remember in 1998, people were picking between McGwire and Sosa. Who do we want to be the home run king? There was none of that this year, and it was really enjoyable to watch because Aaron Judge was having a moment and was a rising star while Albert Pujols is ending his career. It was really cool to see both sides of the coin this season in baseball. The other great thing about it is they both came out of nowhere. No one at the beginning of the season thought Aaron Judge was going to hit 62 home runs. Obviously, we thought the guy was an impressive power hitter, but he hadn't shown that kind of extraordinary power since hitting over 50 as a rookie. Like, I didn't think Aaron Judge would ever hit over 60 home runs. And for Albert Pujols, we all thought he was kind of washed up. Like, I thought it was kind of silly that the Cardinals were even bringing him in the first place. And I was reading this week that in early June, he considered retirement when he was struggling. Like, Albert Pujols was not destined to hit 700 this season. He got hot at the right point and was able to reach that milestone. He was able to show a flash of the old Albert Pujols. I think if you just started watching baseball this decade, you have no idea how good Albert Pujols was from the minute he walked on the field with the St. Louis Cardinals in 2001. This guy was a monster. He was a great defensive first baseman. He was legitimately on his way to being considered one of the 5 greatest players in Major League Baseball history. A great comp to what happened to Pujols is exactly what happened to Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. was on his way to being the home run king, and then he left Seattle for Cincinnati, and then it didn't end very well. Ken Griffey Jr. ended up playing 9 seasons with the Cincinnati Reds. If I asked the Cincinnati Reds fans to name me their 25 greatest players, Ken Griffey Jr. would not make the list. When we talk about Ken Griffey Jr.'s career, all we talk about is his time in Seattle when he was one of the best defensive center fielders we'd ever seen, when he was one of the best hitters we'd ever seen, when he was winning the home run derby. Never once are we talking about his time time in Cincinnati. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Aaron Judge's upcoming free agency. Like, he should try to avoid a Ken Griffey Jr. type of situation. Yes, the grass might be greener on the money side of things. The San Francisco Giants might pay you more money than the New York Yankees, although I highly doubt that. But if they do, you might want to consider just being a member of the New York Yankees, because I think at the end of the day, the second team you go to is not going to care about you as much as the first team. And I'm not just talking about the Yankees as an organization. I'm talking about the fan base. The St. Louis Cardinals fan base cares about Albert Pujols. They are happy that he is on their team. The LA Angels could not care less about Albert Pujols. Cincinnati Reds fans did not care about Ken Griffey Jr. Seattle Mariner fans think of him as one of their 5 greatest players. If legacy matters to you as a player, you should play at a place that cares about your legacy. The St. Louis Cardinals care about the legacy of Albert Pujols. The Seattle Mariners care about the legacy of Ken Griffey Jr. The LA Angels did not care about the legacy of Albert Pujols, and the Cincinnati Reds did not care about the legacy of Ken Griffey Jr. And right now, the New York Yankee fans care about the legacy of Aaron Judge. I'm just not sure if a second team ever will as much as the Yankee fans do. Judge and Pujols had me thinking maybe we as a culture still do care about home runs. Maybe we've recovered from the ridiculousness of players juicing and are ready to begin celebrating them again. Here's where I've landed on it. It matters who the person is hitting the home runs. Aaron Judge and Albert Pujols are fan favorites, and both are well known outside of their markets. It also matters what number it is they're chasing. Judge with 62 and Pujols with 700 mattered. People will not at all of a sudden care about 500 again. I look at Mike Trout, who at this point in his career is at 350 career home runs. I don't think people would care if Trout hits 500, but if he gets to 600, that's a different story. These arbitrary baseball numbers like 500 home runs and 3,000 hits aren't what they used to be. They're not a big deal like they used to be. They aren't enough to gain national attention. I also think in the case of Aaron Judge, there's some nostalgia when you see a guy like that so massive hit a home run. It reminds us of the 1990s. He might not be on steroids, but he's a big dude like Barry Bonds was, like Mark McGwire was. These guys were massive mythical figures that didn't look like normal human beings. I also think the star power of the player matters. Remember when Giancarlo Stanton was one home run away from hitting 60 a few years ago? Yes, you most likely do, but do you remember a few years ago when Eugenio Suarez hit close to 50 home runs? No, because it's Eugenio Suarez. The number doesn't matter. It's who's hitting the number of home runs. The fact that it was Aaron Judge with 62 home runs makes this a big deal. The fact that it was Albert Pujols joining the 700 club makes it a big deal. Star power matters when it comes to the home run. It's not just about the number. We don't care about just anyone hitting home runs. It matters who it is, and in this case, it was Aaron Judge, so we were all rooting for him. Remember how miserable it was seeing Barry Bonds become the home run king? Because all of America thought he was the biggest cheater on planet Earth, yet we all watched through it and we all saw him reach the milestone. That was unpleasant. No one really cared about Barry Bonds becoming the home run king. He was a big name, yes, but we don't look back at that fondly. We are going to look back at Aaron Judge hitting 62 fondly. We are going to look back at Albert Pujols reaching 700 fondly, and it's been a long time since we've seen somebody hit those kind of massive numbers and we're able to look back at it and go, yeah, that was a good time watching these two guys do it. No other sport cares about numbers the way that baseball does. I mean, we've heard about 61 for so long, the myth of Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle having a home run battle for the ages. Now we got to see another member of the Yankee do it in Aaron Judge reaching 62. Albert Pujols reaches the 700 club. I mean, they were able to pass mythical, larger-than-life figures. I wonder if this is the last time we see something like this, or we're going to see more of it in the future. I would love for power to come back and for power hitters to be meaningful again. I used to love home runs, but then we went through the steroid era where you wake up every morning and you go, did any of that really matter? Obviously it didn't. It felt great watching Aaron Judge and Albert Pujols hit home runs that actually mattered. I would like more of them in the future, please. What was great about Aaron Judge this season in particular is he was doing something that no other player in baseball was capable of doing this season, hitting over 60 homers. That is what makes something special when you don't see something every day. You don't see 60 home runs every day. Now in baseball, we see no-hitters all the time. Remember when no-hitters used to matter? This year made me think that maybe home runs are about to matter again. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so please rate, review, and subscribe.